Hey, it's Alicia Kay. Another month is come and gone. That means it's time to talk about everything I read in June. The first book I read in June was 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. This is a classic sci-fi, very short, so points for being short. I have never seen the movie, and honestly, I found it to be kind of confusing at some points. I thought it was overall good, but a little bit too all over the place to really stick out in my brain, and also just so much was happening that it's hard for me to remember everything that happened. One thing I didn't know about this was that the book and the screenplay were being written at the same time, and I think the movie maybe technically came out first, but they were kind of being co-developed. So overall, I am glad I read this book. I honestly don't have that much to say about it because it was just kind of hard to follow at some points and so short, but I do definitely want to watch the movie. And this was on my 26 and 26 list, so it was good to get another one of those completed. The next book I read in June was My Best Friend's Honeymoon by Meryl Wilsner. So the premise of this is a female/non-binary romance where one of the best friends, whose name I don't remember right now, is supposed to get married, and then she ends up cutting it off with the man she's planning to marry, and she goes on vacation, the honeymoon vacation that he planned with her best friend, and these two have been best friends for a long time. Romance ensues. Meryl Wilsner, if you've read anything by her, you know, spicy, not overly spicy, this one at least. I think she also does a really good job writing the spicy scenes, so I enjoyed this. I will definitely read more by Meryl Wilsner. This is, I believe, the third book I've read by her, and more will come. The next book I read in June was This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher. This one, to a certain extent, I don't know how to sum up besides like romance, romantasy kind of, romance, fantasy, but it's not just following one couple. And it's very adventurous, it's fun, it's really lighthearted, and overall I enjoyed this book. So 3 of the main characters in this book were part of a quest to save the realm like 10 years prior to the event of this book. And one of the things I did think was interesting about this book was kind of like how they all dealt with the pressure that was put on them after they saved the realm, and how that's discussed, and also how they perceive each other as having dealt with that after they no longer really talk anymore. This was a light, fun, easy read, and I would definitely read another book in this vein or by this author. The next book I read in June was The X Effect by Dana Hawkins. This one was enjoyable but forgettable, and there was definitely some hallmarky moments, but that could have come down to the setting more than like the actual events of the book. I definitely had a good time reading this book, but I really don't remember very much about it. So it was good. I would say this would probably be a really good palate cleanser book between heavier reads. It's FF romance, and this one follows someone who stayed in the town she was raised in and grew up in, and became like a party wedding event planner, and her business might be in trouble. Things aren't quite as good as they used to be, and she's kind of planning a wedding a little bit more quickly than normal, and she finds out that the person that the bride and groom hired to be their photographer was her ex from high school, who ended up leaving and going to New York City, and they haven't seen each other in, you know, however many years. It was a good book. I don't think it did anything revolutionary, but also not every book needs to. The next book I read in June was Service Model by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is the second Adrian Tchaikovsky book I have read, because I've also read whichever one is on screen right now, because I'm not remembering the name of it right now. But I enjoyed that one more than I liked Service Model. This book was good. I feel like a lot of the books I read this month were good, but with a couple exceptions, none of them really stood out. Like, for example, My Best Friend's Honeymoon, I really, really enjoyed. And I definitely liked it more than some of the, like, I had a more fun time reading that book than some of the other books I read. Service Model was good. I liked the characters. This is a robot slash AI sci-fi. So we are following, and it's very dystopian. So we're following a robot. And I won't say much more than that about the synopsis because this book kind of feels like it is almost in parts. Like it's not truly in parts, except for maybe it is. It might actually be separated into parts. And like part 1, part 2, part 3, whatever. And I do think the beginning of the book was my favorite part of the book. I thought it was the most intriguing, personally. I do like that at the heart of this, there's kind of a mystery, and the mystery evolves and changes as the book goes on. And I will definitely read more Adrian Tchaikovsky. I just don't think for me this was his strongest showing. Also, this might be unfair, but I've read a lot of really, really good books that just, for me, really nail what I think living in a robot would be like. And this in some ways does that. Like I said, I think the characterization is really good, but for me, it also can't stand up to the likes of things like Murderbot or Mal Goes to War. And the last book I read in June was Shift by Hugh, Howey. This is the second book in the Silo series. And the Silo series is a dystopian series that in the first one, we are following the events of an underground, it's like a city, but the city is in essentially a giant silo. I really enjoyed this book. This book was probably my favorite book of the month. I can't say too much about the synopsis of this book because it is the second in a series, but what I will say is it doesn't directly follow the events of the first book. This book had multiple timelines, and I think how they were woven in and out, and also we switched POV a pretty good amount, and I think how all of that was done was handled pretty well. I did listen to the audiobook on this, and I think one of the downfalls of listening to the audiobook was it would say the year that the events were taking place, and I never remembered like the date from the year before. Like I don't remember the dates. So there were a couple times where I was like, well, is this year before or after this last thing that just happened? Overall, I think it was done well and I was able to figure it all out. And I think that might be more of a me thing, where if you have a better memory for dates, or if you're reading the physical copy, you could always go back and check to be like, oh, we're in, year 1470, whatever, or whatever they want to say. And the last one was in 1392. Those aren't the actual dates. Those are just the dates that came to mind. This is a series I'd been thinking about reading for a little bit. I've heard about, and then I don't know if it's even recent, but there is now a TV show on Apple Plus. So I kind of want to watch that, but I was like, oh, I should at least read the first book. And I've read the first two, so I probably can start the series. But I gotta wait until I finish watching Star Trek, the original series, before I start anything else. And those are all the books I read in June. Let me know in the comments what you read in June. And if you've read any of the books that I read this month, what you thought about them. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you like this video. I hope you have a wonderful day.